right, we are working with exponents. Today we're going to need a pencil and just one fun colored marker or colored pencil, something fun to write with. All right, here we go. Exponents. We are concerned about two things, our base and our exponent. And if you remember that one Meghan Trainor song, it's all about that bass, no trouble. All right, now that I have embarrassed myself, it's all about that bass. And we'll talk about why in just a second. But in short, if we see a problem like b to the fourth power, as you can see, what do we have that is repeatedly multiplied? B, our base. Our exponent simply tells us how many times we are going to be multiplying our base. All right, because exponents are just repeated multiplication. We've learned in the past that multiplication is just repeated addition, right? It's a shortcut for repeated addition. Exponents are a shortcut for repeated multiplication. So instead of saying to your fellow researcher or someone like that, b times b times b times b, and getting lost somewhere in there, we could simply say b to the fourth power. All right, exponents are repeated multiplication. The base, remember, it's all about that base. The base is a factor that's being multiplied. And the exponent, it's kind of like the boss. The exponent tells us how many times to use our base as a factor. So, for example, we've got a table down here where we have exponents, we have it expanded, and then in standard form, which is really just, well, what's the answer? The final answer for that. So I'm going to use my marker so that we can have a little bit more expansion of what our exponent is actually doing. So 3 to the second power. I'm going to highlight my square, my little 2, my exponent up top, and we can see that we multiplied our base twice. Our exponent essentially tells us, right, how many times I'm going to be multiplying that number. And 3 times 3 is 9. 8 to the second power, well, 8 squared, I'm going to be multiplying my base twice. So I have 8 times 8, which is 64. 2 to the third power, I'm going to be multiplying my base 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2. Well, what's 2 times 2? 4. What's 4 times 2? 8. Our next one is working backwards a bit, but I can see I'm multiplying something twice, so I know my exponent is going to be a little 2, and I can see my base is 6, right? It's all about that base. That's my big number. That's the number that we are multiplying. Then I've got same thing down here. Actually, I guess we can fill in the answer, 36. 4 times 4 times 4. My base is 4. It's the number that we see, the number that we are multiplying. And my exponent is simply how many times we multiplied it. 3 times. Then to get our answer, we just work out that multiplication problem. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is 64. And if you can't do it in your head, work it out, not a big deal. All right, I'm gonna leave these bottom few because we're actually going to work on those in class with our peers and talk about them. So I'm gonna skip down to the bottom. And the bottom is important. These are some of our nuggets to know. You might even go ahead and take your marker and highlight this because this is something you're gonna have to kind of pull out of your brain when you need to use it. Now, I'm just gonna tell you the answers to these because I am going to instead challenge you to do a little research as to why the answers are what they are. For example, any positive number to the 0 power is always 1. That means something like 38 to the 0 power equals 1. 786 to the 0 power equals 1. 2,786,385 to the 0 power is 1. Any number to the first power, however, is itself. For example, 38 to the first power equals 38. 786 to the first power equals 786. 5 to the first power equals 5. Rather than telling you why these answers are what they are, instead, again, I'm going to challenge you to do a little research and come to class and be able to explain why you think that is. And then once we have the explanation, we'll talk about it as a class. All right, so there we go, exponents. It's all about the base, no trouble. Thank you, Megan Trainer. Our base is the number that we multiply, and our exponent simply tells us how many times we're going to be multiplying that number. All right, there we go, exponents.